Okay. When I was a child, very young, I was a giant of a man. I was an inventor. As you know, the steam trains and steam power was me, and a lot of the big, huge mills were mine. Our mines were mine. So I was the king of iron. I was the king of copper. I was the king of everything, basically. My steam trains and steam power was building houses for everyone, doing all kinds of projects, building factories everywhere, clothing the world basically. So I wanted to try and capture the power of lightning, one of my crazy projects. So they built one of my factories with an all metal roof, all metal, all great big giant iron beams to capture the power of lightning. I at least wanted to see what kind of voltage you would get if you actually did strike lightning. And so in one of the rooms, as you see, there's a chained light fixture going down from the ceiling, and there's a bulb at the bottom, and this bulb would be connected to the ground. And I wanted them to see if the bulb would light. You know, what would happen to the filament if you had a chain coming from the roof, and because people would have to stand way back on this, because back away from where the lightning would strike, because lightning would be striking the roof or striking one of the towers. It would all be ducted right, through the metal structure. It would go in theory, and then you would go down this chain thing down to this light, and then at the bottom there would be this big thing into the ground, and they could either arc it across and see the arcing. So in a lightning storm, if there was ever lightning, I was trying to get lightning to hit the building. But if the building was ever hit by lightning, you'd go. It would be ducted to one room. So because the roof was only in theory grounded, path of least resistance in theory would be through the steel superstructure down to this one room where the light was down, and then down into the ground. And because I wanted them to be able to see lightning. And then later on there would be a filament there to see if the filament would glow bright. Of course, this is something you couldn't really do every single day. So while the building was being built, other things were being done. It was like one of those side projects that they kind of started to do and then just kind of like kept. And it was like, and they were thinking about other ways of somehow harnessing lightning or being able to store lightning power. Now, these great big steel beams were a way, in theory, maybe they would store power. I wasn't exactly that bright back then, but I did have a lot of steam, a lot of money. So I paid for it, and this great big factory, which did other things. I mean, they were also doing bleaching and all kinds of other things. It was just kind of one of those ongoing projects, kind of like the building of the pyramids or whatever. It's just one of those things that was ongoing to try and capture lightning using the steel roof, these steel plates. But I mean, at the same time, there were steamboats and I had steam tugs being built, and I had, there's this whole world of things going on, and there's this one building, or these two buildings that were working on harnessing the power of lightning, and that's one of them. The cast iron roof plates and everything. It was in theory, maybe a lot of steel could hold a charge for a second. I don't think it really works. It doesn't work. But I didn't know that then, and neither did they. So, or at least I had enough money that it didn't really matter. So they were doing this, and there was also churches being built with my little gear patterns inside of them and stuff. But yeah, that was one of the things. Some of the buildings in Britain, yeah, they were built to harness the power of lightning. There's 2 or 3 of them, and it was one of my really wacky, silly projects. But it was back at a time when nobody knew, and I had these great big stone quarries that were building housing for people and doing all this stuff, and the world was learning about power and electricity, and about steam as well. And so it was the steam revolution, and it was just one building. I mean, it's a very big building, yes, but it was just one building. And I guess it got struck at least once, and they saw something. Saw that the roof did duct the power down and into the ground, or down past the thing. Because there was the idea of, I wanted to photograph lightning. I wanted them to see lightning. So it would the roof would get struck, and then it would go through the roof and then down, and then past this thing. And it would go down the chain of the light, and then to the ground, and there would be a spike in the ground, and they would be able to see the lightning across the thing, and be able to stand in a room, on a night with lightning, and they could fly a kite even to get it up higher, and then maybe get the kite to get struck, and then it would be ducted down through the roof and then into the thing. So it was a cute idea that I guess they did, and it worked, and it actually started to draw a crowd because it was working. It was actually a real work, that the lightning would go through the metal. They found later on that copper worked better than steel, but it was the beginning of something better, something more. And, a very big part of my history, really.